prison
Right.
inside this. They're still operating.
I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of Bardstown Independent Schools. If you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our regular board meeting on July 17th, 2018, and the special called meeting on August 2nd, 2018.
Make motion to approve. Second.
Any other further comments or discussion? All those in favor of approval of the regular board minutes and the special called minutes, state aye. All those opposed, motion carried. Next item is the confirmation and approval of the claims.
Mr. Rogers?
Hello. So for the claims this month, the total is $986,955.84. For Fund 1, our total is $356,148 approximately. Last year at this time, we paid $138,050 less than we are paying this year. The primary difference for that is attributable to the second and third payments that we've made for the Bardstown Primary School roofing project. We have one more bill to pay for that, and it's going to be about $19,000. But the amount that you're seeing this month in your claims report is $119,000, $119,036. So that's the primary difference. But then also we have the purchase of this year's school copy paper that was almost $26,000, and last year at this time it was paid at the September board meeting. From Fund 400, our debt service, we had one bond series payment for principal and interest for $471,484.82.
Questions, comments?
All right.
So do I have a motion for approval of the claims?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor for confirmation and approval of the claims state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Next item is the financial report.
So this month, for July ending, we have a cash fund balance from the bank and also Munis on our balance sheet of $3,601,196.09. I just have a couple of things that I want to bring to your attention today. The first is for an update on the fiscal year 2018 audit. Work has begun with the auditors and our school staff. Yesterday they were at the middle school and the high school working with the school bookkeepers and principals there. And then today they're working at the other schools, the Early Childhood Center, primary school, and elementary school. And I may have mentioned to you before that the district field work is going to begin on Monday, September 17th for this office. And we hope to have that work concluded by Friday, October 5th, so that you can have the audit work and the financial statements, everything before you at the October board meeting for your review. With the anticipated approval of the 2018 tax rate today, we'll be able to make the finishing entries to the 18-19 working budget over the next week or so, and you'll have that document for your approval at the September board meeting, the next regular board meeting. And then finally, I wanted to make you aware that the CETS offers that we escrowed last year, those have been transferred for this year. Our portion of that is $46,393, and the state matches that figure. So we will have a total of $96,786 to spend on towards technology updates and improvements. So those include Chromebook upgrades in the 2nd through 5th grades, and then the middle school library, as well as purchasing a tough panel at the primary library to replace a dead smartboard. So that's all I have for you today, unless you have any questions.
Tell me that amount again.
For the CATs, the total CATs,
For the technology, you said at the end.
$92,786.
Okay.
And those were the 3 offers that we received last fiscal year that we escrowed, that we're now pulling out, and the state is matching 1-to-1.
Are there any other questions from Ms. Rogers?
Thank you all.
Next item, moving right along. Next item is the superintendent's report, our favorite.
Yes, well, I'm excited today to have 2 major items that I'd like to present to you today, both for celebration for sure. First, I'd like to invite Miss Kathy Christian and her guest Olivia Shams. We had some very gifted musicians from our district that were selected to be part of the Kentucky Ambassadors Music Program. I hope I said that right. And Ms. Christian's going to share a little bit about that experience.
Okay, so the Kentucky Ambassadors of Music is an opportunity for high school students to receive a nomination from their choral, band, or orchestral director to go on a performance and sightseeing tour over 7 countries in Europe in 16 days. So it is a pricey trip, but it's really great experience. And so they take nominations in the odd numbered years in the springtime, and then in the summer of even numbered years we'll travel. And it's always the same countries over the same dates. Sometimes the locations within those countries will change, but it is a wonderful time. And I actually went as a student in 2008, and in 2014, I was approached by the director at University of Louisville, Dr. Kent Hatterberg, to see if I could be an advisor for this trip. And so that was really exciting for me. So in 2016, I was able to go, and 2 students from Bardstown went, Brianna Lawrence and Marissa Ortega-Coulter. And then in 2018, this past summer, Olivia came, and then 2 alumni, Alan Carroll, who graduated in 2018, and Catherine Nally, who Catherine graduated in 18, Alan graduated in 17. Because of the nomination process, it's sometimes that either graduated seniors or people who have just finished their first year of college are still able to go on the trip, since we do it every other year. But it's a great time, and it's a wonderful opportunity for students to go and see parts of Europe they possibly never see. We get the big cities, we get Paris and London, and then after that we go to Switzerland and go through Liechtenstein on our way to Austria. And then while we're in Austria, we take a day trip over to Venice, Italy, and then our last stop is to Germany. So it's a lot of time, but we cram a lot of into it. And so the choir was actually able to perform in every country, sometimes twice in each country. Band and orchestra performed in about 5 of the countries. And so that was quite an interesting experience. And in preparation, they send us the music around March, and about half of the music actually around March. And we get the rest of it the week before we leave, the last week of June. And we spend about 5 days on University of Louisville's campus, basically being in an intensive rehearsal camp. Sun up to sundown, we're either eating or singing. And the same for the band and the orchestra. So we perform and practice, and then off we go. So this was my 3rd time on the tour, and it was a great experience, and I was very glad that Olivia was there. They asked for nominations based off of students with exceptional musical qualities and also students of good character. And Olivia has shown the musical characteristics. She's been in All-State since 7th grade, and she's driven and committed to doing musical things, and she just has a good positive attitude when we go places. And so I was very glad to have her with me, but I'll let her tell a little bit about her trip.
Well, this trip gave me a lot of opportunities that I really would never have thought that I would be getting. We got to sing in St. Mark's Cathedral, which was beautiful, and the acoustics were so great. I got to meet a lot of new people who loved music as much as me, and it taught me a lot about how music really affects everyone. It's a universal language. The choir was amazing. It taught me a lot about really being driven, and one day you can sing with amazing people like that and have a great choir director. It was honestly one of the best experiences I've had in my life, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
So that's a mountain in Switzerland. So this is Catherine, the graduate from this past year. And Alan, they have an extension where you can choose to go to Greece for an additional 3 days, which is why Alan's picture was separate, because he went on and did the Greece extension, which I've never done, but it sounds really cool. And so before we leave, first of all, thank you for giving us a chance to speak and just talk about this experience. I'm hoping that over time more Bardstown students will be able to go. But we have a short video of a part of the choir singing My Old Kentucky Home in what used to be a little chapel in an abandoned castle in Switzerland, because that's normal. So that's what we've got here.
Those sound like amazing acoustics too. I mean, that was impressive.
Olivia, were you in the choir?
Yes.
Can we hear a little bit?
Up here.
The acoustics aren't as good in here.
That's what it is. Thank you, both.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Olivia.
Great.
That was a real treat.
It was a real
yeah.
treat. It always gives me chills.
Something else that I would like to present as part of my report is that, again, for the second year in a row, each one of our schools, all 5 of our schools for Bardstown City Schools, were honored by receiving the Best of Award. So this is something we are so very proud of, and especially knowing that the community is who votes for these awards. So it validates the really hard work that is done in each school, and it validates also the work that you all do as a board to support those schools and the work that's done. So I'd like to invite each principal one by one to come up, and then I'm going to invite a board member to also join me. So Ms. Shrewsbury, if you could join me first. If early childhood could come up. You're going to have to stay up here for a little picture too. Once you come on up, I'll let you present that, and then we'll have a picture taken too.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not gonna work? Not gonna work? Oh, now we're good.
1, 2.
Once is
I can
fine,
still see a
zero
little.
light.
Yeah, we might want to move you up a little bit more next time.
Yeah. Next, we have Bardstown Primary School, Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
We'll let Mr. Roby, yes.
I'm sure it's a whole one.
Well.
Right, I think underneath that projector.
Congratulations so much.
Thank you so much.
Done a great job, Dick.
I love my job. It's fun when you love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have Bardstown Elementary, and Mr. Courtney, you could come on up. Yeah, you've done anything yet. That's right. No.
A little closer together.
Good job. Awesome. And next, we have Bardstown Middle School, and we have Mr. Payton, who is here.
Sir. Congratulations, young man.
Awesome. Thank you. Great job. And finally, Bardstown High School.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, which way you want to get?
Right here.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh.
It's
a team
You want
effort.
to turn it around that way? Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Happy you look a little short.
Congratulations.
You look short compared to those big men.
We didn't do that on purpose, I promise you.
The very tall men.
So again, something that we're very, very proud of, and congratulations to all of our schools. Thank you, principals, for being here. It is quite an honor, and now we can finally celebrate out loud. We've known for a little while, and we've been quietly celebrating, but now we can do that publicly. So congratulations again. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, our next item is our recognition of visitors, and I don't think we have any. So then we'll move on to our next item, which is the local agreement with Central Kentucky Head Start.
So Mr. Boston is going to share the details of that with us.
All right, good morning, or afternoon in this case. Coming to you guys today, as I do every year, to bring to you our agreement with Central Kentucky Head Start to provide special education and related services to students enrolled in Head Start. The federal government requires the local school district to service students with disabilities that are located in the Head Start program that reside in that Head Start, that school district. So we service our students, and Nelson County services their students. Both groups of kiddos are located at the old Foster Heights Elementary School, right next to the newer Foster Heights Elementary School. So just come to you guys today to ask permission to continue doing that for Head Start.
And this is something too you do, and you may have said this already, that we do every year and have done for a number of years.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Do I have a motion for approval of the 2018-2019 local agreement with Central Kentucky Head Start?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comments or questions? All those in favor of the agreement, the 2018-2019 local agreement with Central Kentucky Head Start, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boston. And then the next one, I guess is you two.
Yes, it is.
I'm
So
back.
to be the 2018-2019 agreement for cooperation on full utilization of Head Start.
Yes, ma'am. Another thing that the state and federal government require of local school districts is that we do our best to ensure that Head Start is able to recruit and maintain all the eligible 4-year-old students that they're able to take in their facility. So there's certain things that we do throughout the year with Head Start in an effort to help them reach this number, which is 31 for our school district and has been 31 for the last several years. Some things we do together are I'm trying to think of the correct word, enrollment. When we have our enrollment day for preschool in the spring, we usually invite Head Start to that. They have a table set up and we have a table set up, and we help families guide their decision based on what program they may need. We also provide and coordinate with various trainings and informational sessions and so forth throughout the school year. So this is again just asking the board to acknowledge that we're going to continue to do these things to help fill Bardstown spots at the Head Start program.
Do I have a motion for approval of the 2018-2019 agreement for cooperation on full utilization of Head Start?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, any further comments or discussion? All those in favor of the 2018-2019 agreement for cooperation on full utilization of Head Start, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boston.
Next item is the resolution to commit the Fund 54 balance to backpack program.
Yeah, Ms. Rogers, you could talk to us a little bit about that.
So the Fund 54 is a dormant account that we used for adult education and community education. Since we no longer have the adult education program, and the funds that remain there, the balance that remains there in Fund 54 in that dormant account, we need to have an action to commit those funds. And we believe the best way to utilize those funds, after all this time, we're unable to go back and find the original source or what the original intent was, and it is now to commit those funds to use for the backpack program, which is also run out of Fund 54 initially. So the balance is $68,213.54.
What was the Fund 54 reason for? We don't know.
It was a proprietary account that is used for adult education and community education. And since the adult education program, since we disengaged
Right.
from that in 2015, it's been dormant. There's been no activity in that account, other than initially when we were still building up some funds for the backpack program. We had some activity in there for that, and we made payments to the Feeding America program. So that's how we'd like to continue to use the funds.
Will this be a total use of the money, or it would be incremental over time?
No, it would be moving that 68,000 plus balance from Fund 54 to Fund 2, where the other community ed grant and funds are located right
So
now.
it'll effectively close this account out?
That's what we're interested in doing.
What was the source originally for the Fund 54? Were those federal numbers?
It was federal, state, and local. So the federal and state money was received and expended for the adult ed program. The other funds were generated from local donations to go towards, we believe the intent was the backpack program. But because you have a retention of records of 4 years, it's hard to identify the original source of those funds, so.
I understand adult education. What is community education? What did that consist of?
The community education program is a liaison between the community and the school district. There's actually 5 components that have to be met, and I'm sorry, I'm not really aware of what the 5 are, but it works with family resource program, things like the backpack program. Paul, you want to help?
Sorry.
I have that piece of paper sitting on my desk, and there are 5 components. Some of it is working through some community programs. It was things that Karen Scott was primarily in charge of last year. She is no longer with us, as you know, and we are reposting that position to find a replacement to work in that
That's
capacity.
fine.
So currently, the activity is, we have a community education grant. It's a state grant. It's $20,000 and a $5,000 match. And the majority of that goes towards the salary of the community education coordinator. Their responsibilities also were to solicit donations for this Feeding America backpack program. So these funds would be transferred to be utilized for that program specifically.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution to commit the Fund 54 balance to backpack program, which is retroactive to 6/30/18?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor of approval for the resolution to commit the Fund 54 balance to backpack program, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
You're welcome.
And we have the second reading for the board policy updates.
Mr. Bowling will share that with us for second reading.
Yes, and since the first reading, there have been no new information from KSBA or new updates. What happens is we seek an approval for this, and that is a recommendation from KSBA. Once that is accomplished, then there's a worksheet that is sent in to KSBA, and they actually make the hard copy changes, both to that and our online service. They provide that as well, so those changes will become policy. So if there's any follow-up discussion from the last presentation, we can talk about that as well, but there has been no new information.
So basically, this is the same policies that we have already approved in the
Yes.
first reading.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And the blue is new and the red is deleted.
That's correct. All the blue were additions, And I've got there's a smaller version of that has just kind of a summary of each change, because if you look at the actual policies, there was dozens of pages, you had to really sift through to find the actual small change. So there was a packet that was a separate file there that says summary, and it has a summary of those 40 policies. And 38 of those policies were legal things that we pretty much have to change. There was only 2 that were recommended this time, so it's a pretty easy one this year.
So, do I have a motion to approve the second reading of the board policy updates?
So moved.
Second? Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor of approval with the second reading of the board policy updates state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the health clinic service provider.
Mr. Rowling, yeah.
That's me as well. So we went through the same procedure that we went through last year. We had an RFP that was published. This year we had one provider that submitted a proposal, or an intent to submit a proposal. We met with that provider. I believe Ms. Shrewsbury and Mr. Roby were both here for that presentation of Cumberland Family Medical. So, you know, even though there was only one provider, we wanted to hear the proposal and make sure it was a good fit, and it sure was. Just some quick facts about Cumberland Family Medical. What sets them apart and makes them different and makes the school health clinic work is that they are a 501c3 not-for-profit entity, which is rare in the world out there of the medical field, as you probably know. They can see kids regardless of their health insurance status or their primary care provider. They do receive federal monies to help them exist. They know that when they take on a new clinic, there's a period of time where there's some loss that takes place. Their founder, who founded the school clinic part of this, was in 2007, basically saw a need in that region of Kentucky to get into the schools for preventative health care for kids, because they just weren't getting to the doctor. So that's how it started, and it grew. They are currently in 90 schools in somewhere between 15 and 20 different counties that they serve, and they actually have a waiting list of districts that want to have their service in their schools. So we also feel very lucky to have gotten to the end of that. They were able to take us on. They submitted their proposal, and I think Ms. Shrewsbury and Mr. Roby could probably echo, it was pretty impressive, the thing. They have a mobile unit, they can do immunizations, physicals. They're really big on preventative care, but they also can provide acute care, for situations to students, and they can also see staff because of the way they're set up. So a little different than what we've had in the past. We think it's going to be a great fit for our school and our district.
As Mr. Roby said during the presentation, it almost sounds too good to be true because it was so, they've just got it down. And they also have, she kept adding more programs that they have that we could, if we wanted to take advantage of. It just went on and on and on. So I think it's a great fit, if you ask me.
It really is, and they really are there for the benefit of kids and health in the community. So, like I said, there's not a lot of not-for-profit health clinics out there. So it is almost too good to be true, but they are up and running and functioning in a lot of schools, and it's been very successful. So we're really looking forward to having them.
Because they're non-for-profit, in terms of malpractice insurance and all type of things, all those squares have been checked and
Yes.
everything is all up to speed on that.
Absolutely.
And to add to that too, we're still working on the fine pieces of that, but absolutely that would be the case.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Clark has been working with our school board attorneys and also Cumberland Family Medical to get the details of the
Yeah.
contract hammered out.
Great.
So, it's going to be very good.
And one part I really liked about it was the fact that before a kid could go home, they had to see somebody to get to say, yeah, you're sick.
Yeah, if they
Instead
say,
of just saying,
Right.
I'm
That's-
sick and whatever. So
it's one of the things that they recommend, especially with high school kids, that before they just check out sick, that, hey, let's just make sure you're okay. Because, who knows, it could be something serious. So, yeah, there's some value to that
And
as
it's
well.
mandatory.
Right. Yeah, if they're checking themselves out for sure sick, they've got to, that's a stop that they have to make. So,
Well, you said they had a mobile unit.
they
They
do.
will be housed over in the elementary school,
Well, their mobile unit, yes, they will be in
in the clinic.
the health clinic at the elementary school. They have a mobile unit that goes around and provides certain services.
Oh, okay.
And so it may be in Bardstown one month, and it might be over at LaRue County the next week, and they move around to do different things,
Oh, okay.
physicals. I think they have a dental service
They do.
also
Mhm.
that travels
Really
around.
nice.
So
Yeah.
they're constantly trying to expand and provide the best care that they can for kids. It's pretty amazing, really. If you heard the presentation there, it's really a top-notch program.
Yeah. I think they've worked out a lot of the kinks in the program, so
Yeah.
it's good timing.
How long have they been in existence?
They started the school portion in '07. The clinic side of it was in well before that, but I know they've been doing school health for a little over 10 years. So they're not rookies to it,
No.
for sure.
No.
In fact, they've been doing school health probably longer than anybody.
Mhm.
Really good. So I guess we need an approval then to accept them as our health clinic provider.
Right. So, on that note, do I have a motion for approval of the Bardstown School Health Clinic Service Provider?
With most approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Chairman, I must abstain from voting because of the relationship with Cumberland Family Medical Center and Medica.
That's true.
Medica is owned by my son and daughter-in-law, so
Okay.
at this time I must abstain.
One of their programs is a decreased rate in your pharmaceutical medications, which is great. Okay, so all those in favor of the Bardstown School Health Clinic Service Provider, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the Athletic Trainer Service Provider.
So very similar process for the athletic trainer provider. We had a committee of myself and another central office person, principal from the high school, also the athletic director and coach representative. We had 2 submissions for the athletic trainer provider. Watched 2 presentations. They were both very, very solid. One was Court, which is local, and then Hardin Memorial, which is based in E-Town, but is up and coming in our community. We listened to both proposals. As a committee, we felt that Court was the very best fit for our school district for various reasons. So we're very excited to have Court back on board as our athletic trainer provider. I believe Mr. Elliot Mattingly is here to observe today, and he's a member. He is a, what are you? He's a physical therapist. I think Elliot does a lot of things, but he's in several hats, but I want to make sure I said that right, so I'll just ask him. But so again, we're very excited to have Court on board with us. They're right here. The Bumps and Bruise Clinic on Saturday is right here local for our families. And we felt like it was the best choice for certain. So again, we would seek approval for Court as our athletic trainer service provider.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion?
He is a Bardstown High School
He is a grad,
I
yes.
spotted that. We're very proud of him. Okay. So, all those in favor of the athletic trainer service provider, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is the 2018-2019 Air Force JROTC Crosstown Agreement.
So, Mr. Pickett, if you would come forward. I know I shared this with board members about this opportunity before the school year got started, and Mr. Pickett's going to share a little bit about this opportunity.
Well, I'm coming to you, board today, very excited as the best high school in Nelson County, trying to add something that makes us even better. You know, we're always looking for things to provide the very best education possible, and this opportunity kind of evolved from a couple of discussions with Nelson County's interim superintendent a while back, and it kind of came to an invitation through the recent superintendent, Dr. Clark. We talked a little bit this summer about the possibility of some of our students taking part in the Nelson County Air Force JROTC program. I don't know if you remember, I think the majority of you were on the board back in 2013, 14, whenever, I can't remember if I presented or Mr. Holtzclaw kind of informed you guys of some limitations that we had just based on our size. I pulled that document back out that I gathered a ton of information from Fort Knox, some area high schools that had junior ROTC programs, and one of the biggest things was that it was a minimum of 100 students being involved in a JROTC program, which really kind of put a dampener on it. You know, annually we have 2 to 5 students graduating that pursue military careers in one of the military branches, and so we kind of stopped it there. We could have got on a waiting list, could have turned in the application with financial constraints in the military. They weren't even at that time replacing programs that were ending. You know, if a school district dropped their JROTC program, the government wasn't picking up that and pulling somebody off the waiting list. So really thinking about it, you know, we really didn't gauge our students then to see the interest. But what we did do last winter, coming out of Christmas during scheduling, I invited over Colonel Lucchese. She is the colonel in charge of Nelson County's ROTC program. They came to an academic event where 8th graders come over to the high school at night with their parents. I let them set up a table, and we had about 25 students in that freshman incoming class that were interested. So we kind of kept in contact, followed through with the discussion, and I'm pleased to stand here today that I know, as Dr. Clark has talked with you a little bit, we do have a few students in that program. We actually have 10, which of the 25, 10 are starting and have started riding one of our vocational buses that, you know, the transportation was already there. It's not an additional expense. And I really wish Colonel Lucchese could have joined me today. They're actually out on a field trail, but they are in that first year introductory year 1 JROTC program course, which I've been over to visit, and just really excited about it. This is something that over my years as principal, assistant principal, there have been students that we've lost to JROTC because we can't provide it, you know. And I hate losing students to something we can't have or don't have. You know, we take pride in the offerings that we have, but this is something that, like I said, they go over a couple hours in the morning, they're back. Nelson County has the only program in the county. Thomas Nelson, they cannot have a program. They can't split their instructors and put some at Thomas Nelson and some at Nelson. Nelson County is the only place that has that cadet program. So, I'd like to field any questions. Like I said, I'm just real excited about the opportunity, hoping for your approval. And this is an annual type of thing. We could reevaluate, kind of come back and give a feed out at the end of the year. And but very excited. So we have students at the Area Tech Center and right across the parking lot right there in a classroom with, actually there's 2 instructors with the military. that it's almost like adjunct staffing that we're utilizing. Any questions?
I'd just like to applaud your tenacity in keeping at it, because I know for a fact in speaking with someone yesterday that took the Bullet East lost theirs. It
Okay.
wasn't Air Force, but they just lost theirs and they didn't get it back. So
Yeah.
a cooperative situation with all the area schools is fantastic, and applaud you for that, because it's a great program. I was a member of it at the collegiate level, and I think it's something that we can look forward to in the future.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. We've been wanting this for a long time, I think.
And like I said, when I talked with his name was Jarbo, and he was really straightforward over at Fort Knox, and said, just pick it, and you can fill out the application, but with your size, it's going to be very hard with enrollment of approximately 600 then, to have 100 students. You've got 3 years to build that number to 100.
Yeah.
We work very hard at the ATC to build that enrollment of students going to the ATC, but with military interest, just 2 to 5 students a year go heading that direction. I think that will increase.
Right.
This is not some type of pilot to force someone to enter the military, but the areas they focus on: academic studies, character education, life skills, leadership, intramural competition, field trips, community projects. They're really in tune with community needs, and you'll see these guys out there. You'll see them at our academic and sporting events throughout the year.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of 2018-2019 Air Force JROTC Crosstown Agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further comments or discussion?
It'll give our students another opportunity to be prepared for post-secondary
Right.
world also.
Definitely. And I'm very picky about our students being placed in hands that aren't necessarily under my watch or our district's watch, but Colonel Lucchese and Sergeant Post, they're top notch, and they're looking at our students as equals to Nelson counties, just like at the ATC. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so all those in favor? All those in favor?
So sorry. Sorry.
Did I do something wrong?
You're all
I'm
over
coming.
it. You're all over it.
Give me a
Just give me a minute here. All those in favor? I got some backseat drivers over here. Of the 2018-2019 Air Force JROTC Crosstown Agreement, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is our local tax rates for 2018.
Let me begin by saying, if it's with your permission, I thought last night's hearing was a great experience for me. I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated the opportunity to present the financial state of our district, and of course we got to brag on our wonderful community and how it's growing. I know that the decision to set the tax rate is a very, very thoughtful decision that the board makes. I know that you take your jobs very seriously. I know that anytime that you're making decisions about funding for our school, for our schools and for our students, I know you're very thoughtful about those things. So I appreciate that experience yesterday, and I know this is a big decision, and I respect you all for whatever decision that you make.
Okay, so I'd kind of like to open the floor for any more comments and discussion.
I have one.
Okay.
I've actually prepared a statement to clarify my position from last night's discussion. I'd like to,
Awesome.
if you could endure with me here. The 4% increase we struggle, and when I say we, I mean I, struggle with year to year has come to be interpreted by many as a ceiling or a top, the maximum amount that we can ask for. As I understand it, this 4% is the maximum amount we can ask for without being subject to recall by referendum. It was actually implemented and intended by state legislation many years ago to be a floor or a bottom, an adjustment to cover the cost of inflation, as I understand it. This has become increasingly important over the years as the state has contributed less, which leaves our district and other districts to contribute more. My argument is more conceptual than financial. Last year's 4% increase of over $500,000 melds into the budget and is spent on legitimate, worthwhile improvements and covers many of our inflationary costs. The $688,188 that we saw yesterday for the 4% increase will be no different, nor will next year's overage or the next. Make no mistake, I completely understand the necessity of staying aggressive with our school funding, as well as the compounding effects of taking less than 4% on future budgets. To compete in our world today, our students must be on the cutting edge, and we have done this very, very well, and will continue to do so even with a little less. This little less is my conceptual argument, and in essence, a lesson to our youth about compromise and frugality, something I believe our country needs more of. As board members, we have specific duties described by laws to carry out. Educators, we are not. However, our actions are in themselves teaching moments to our youth and our community. Our society's increasing credit card mentality has left our global economy floating in debt. Dare we not instill in our youth today the thought of saving for a rainy day? If we pass a 4% increase today, are we not at least partially saying, do not worry, children, there's always more, something that we know is not to be true. As I mentioned yesterday, a compromise of taking 2% versus the 4% increase in revenue is nearly 72% of that $688,000, which last year 4% was $492,000. Last year was $500,000. So you can see how the numbers change year over year. Madam Chairman, I would love to make a motion for 2%, but I know I don't have the quorum to carry it. So at this time, I would like to make a motion for the Bardstown Independent School District to take a 3% increase in revenue over last year's rate.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay. All those, is there further comments or discussion?
I came in wanting a 4% increase, but I understand the impact it's putting on the citizens of this school district. However, our job is to be responsive to the needs of the students and provide the best possible facilities, the best possible teachers, and like I say, I have a hard time. I was set to go 4%, but when you look at things that we paid for just this first month, food, $36,000, bond payments, $803,000, workman comps, $47,000. That's a bunch of money. And I would like to see myself go for a 4%, but I can reconcile to a 3%. It's going to help the people that are on fixed incomes, which I'm one of them. And that's basically it.
Any other comments?
I would have to say that even though Mr. Owen made a second on the 3%, doesn't mean he has to vote for it. You can always change your mind. I would find that all your arguments are correct, as well as Mr. Stone, that our cost of operation continues to rise. We all know that. That's going to continue. We can't beat that. There's going to be varying degrees of inflationary costs that we can't foresee. The compounding effect, as Mr. Stone says, is something that we do lose over a long period of time, forever. Actually, you never recover that. So I understand everybody's position, and we do have a difficult job to do, to pay for the best teachers we can afford, our athletic training program, everything we talked about today. And that's my comment on that. We'll vote, I guess. Ms. Reed's got something to say?
You know, I am in favor of the 4% compensating rate, and I appreciate Mr. Stone explaining that, because with the level of funding that we're receiving from the state and federal government, you know, nothing is free. I think, you know, that, as Mr. Roby said last night, $25 on 100,000. Get your piggy bank out and put quarters in there. It doesn't take long to get $25 per 100,000. So what I'm saying is, I think that the community wants the best for their children. I think they want them to be competitive in a world market. And America is lagging behind. But we can be a beaming light in darkness and try to get our children as well prepared as we can. And that's my comment. I stand with my 4%.
And, you know, I have hashed this out tons of different ways, looked at it, you know, over and over and over. And I came to the point, the same point as Ms. Reed, when it came down to our children. And it's our children that we want, and this is for. And yes, we could take less, but our budget is so, I think, so tight that I want more for them. I want them to be competitive. I want the best education, the safest environment we can possibly give them. So I'm also for the 4%. But we have a motion on the floor for the 3%.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to withdraw my second.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Sorry, Andy.
That's the way it goes.
but it's a great argument, and I value the discussion, you know.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion for a 4% tax increase.
Okay, so are we okay with that? The second is denied because there was,
That's right. So the motion is withdrawn.
yes, okay. So we have a motion on the floor for the 4% tax increase. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the tax rate for the 2018 rate as 4% state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried. All right. Next item is the travel authorization.
You will find in your board packet information about travel authorizations. If you have any questions about any of those, I think they are in order.
Okay. So, do I have a motion for approval of the travel authorizations?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion?
All of these are using school buses, is this correct?
There is one, I believe,
Kansas
Mr. Roby,
City.
that is a possible national trip, just turned in advance, that could be airfare. I believe that's kind of.
Yeah, students would have to be selected to be part of that, so they're getting their approval at their preliminary.
Yes, they're preliminary. If we were to have to make that trip, I think it was to Kansas City,
Yeah.
we would go airfare on that one, but that's down the line if we advance.
My concern lies there is every time something like this comes up is to make sure these companies, these bus owners have maintained their equipment.
Definitely.
We don't want any accidents because of mechanical failures. Okay.
Okay. So, all those in favor of the travel authorization state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is resignations.
Also, in your board packet, you will see resignations for this past month. So if those appear to be in order, if you have any questions, of course.
Okay, and then your site-based decision meeting council minutes are in your packet for your review. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
Well done.